Hi, I'm Kaylee. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a little wrap up of all the books that I read in January and February. I like to do a combination of 2 months because, I don't read that fast and I don't like to try to feel forced to read. So by doing 2 months combined, you get more books, and also it's not as much pressure on myself. So let's dive into what I read and my thoughts. The first book that I read this year, started off the new year with, was And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. Now, I really wanted to read this book mainly because this is the book that I got when I was in Paris. I'll show you guys. Here is the Shakespeare and Company stamp. So, needed to read it because sentimental. So this book is about 10 strangers who are invited to Soldier Island, an isolated rock off the Devon coast, cut off from the mainland, with their generous host mysteriously absent. They each are accused of a terrible crime. Then one of the party dies suddenly, and they realize there may be a murderer in the midst, a murderer who might strike again and again. And all the time, copies of macabre nursery rhyme hang in each room, a nursery rhyme with an omen of death for all 10 of them. So I feel like this is the, most known Agatha Christie, but it's up there. It was definitely a very intriguing mystery. I would consider it a classic. So again, it's the language. It wasn't written this year, right? So the language is going to be older. It's going to be a little more dense, but it's nothing that I think anyone can't understand. So, and it is really interesting because once you read the book, you will see how many things have been inspired by this story. When I was reading this book, that movie, the new Knives Out movie, Glass Onion, came out, and inspired by this book. Anytime you take some people and stick them on an island where no way off, they got it from And Then There Were None. So this is all I'm going to say pretty much about this book, because it's a mystery and it's a well-known mystery. I don't want to spoil it any more than that probably has been spoiled of you just knowing about its existence. So if you're interested in seeing the inspiration behind a lot of other mysteries, definitely check this out. Agatha Christie is a great author. Then next up, technically I finished this book, The Midnight Library. I had gotten it for my birthday back in July and had tried to start it, but at the time it was hitting a little too close to home, to be honest. So I had to stop it, and then I picked it back up in January and finished it. So this book is it's between life and death, there's a library. Up until now, Nora Seed's life has been full of misery and regret. She feels she has let everyone down, including herself. But things are about to change. When she finds herself in the Midnight Library, she has a chance to make things right. The books in the Midnight Library enable Nora to live as if she had done things differently. Each one contains a different life, a possible world in which she made different choices that played out in an infinite number of ways, affecting everyone she knew as well as many people she never met. With the help of an old friend, she can now undo every decision she regrets as she tries to work out her perfect life. But things aren't always what she imagined they'd be, and soon her choices place the library and herself in extreme danger. Before time runs out, she must answer the ultimate question: what is the best way to live? So you can see this is more of a book that is intended to get you reflecting on your own life and your own choices, and then the concept of regret and how best we each live our own lives. I thought that it was a really interesting concept and cool to see. I definitely see why it has so much hype around it. Now, is this like one of my favorite books, a 5-star read for me? Not necessarily, but I definitely appreciate the reflective nature of it. I will say it is there can be trigger warnings within this book. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but I'll just say you may want to look that up first. And also, the beginning is sad. It's sad, and then then it gets not as sad, but it's just a little hard to get through in the beginning if you are going through, if you're dealing with anything personally, then this may be the book to read, or it may not be. That's your own decision, but very reflective, gets you thinking about your own life. Did I kind of see the ending coming? Yes, but I think you're supposed to, in a way. Also, I'm just gonna put it out, I'm not doing like a rating system, like 5 stars, 4 stars, just because for me personally, going off of a star system, like, isn't my favorite, because I tend to like read a book and then be like, I'll tell you what I think about the book and the parts I like and didn't like, but I'm not gonna rate it normally because I don't know, I'm such a feeling person, and I'm also an English major, so it's like I can appreciate the creative and the artistic nature of a book, but then also not love it, because for me personally, I have to feel something from it. So that just tends to be why I don't rate a book. But anywho, so the next book that I read, honestly, I forgot that I even read this book until I was going through my Goodreads of the books that I had read, and then saw that, oh, I did read this book. And not that it was a bad book, I enjoyed the book. I just feel like time just blurred together that I forgot that it existed and that I read it for a solid 2 weeks. So hold on, I'm pulling it up on my Goodreads, because also I get a lot of my books from the library. Like, those two I happen to own, but the rest of the books that I read were from my library, so that's why I don't have physical copies of it. Guys, get out there, support your local libraries. I mean, you can try a book and DNF it, no harm, no foul. Or you could find a book that you love and then go out and buy it if you want to. But you can just read so many more books, and you're supporting your library. You are reading for free. I don't know why you wouldn't do it. Next book I read was Blush by Jamie Brenner. Now, this book is about 3 generations of women who discover that the trashy novels of a bygone era just might hold the key to saving their family's coastal winery and to finding the love that's eluded them. So then it just gives you a little more blurb, but basically this book is about these 3 generations of women, the Hollanders, who own a winery in Long Island, and how the power of literature and book clubs help them find their own empowerment to then take charge of their lives. So with that said, I, for that reason, loved the concept of this book, and the setting was amazing. Did sometimes the book got a little like, okay, I don't love that part, or it's a little cheesy, but overall the concept I loved. Absolutely loved. And if you are looking for like a lighthearted, fun read, this is your book for you. And I haven't heard anybody talking about it. I just randomly found it one day at the library, but especially in the hopes of it being warmer soon, this book and the next book that I'm going to talk about are like nice escapes into summer and lovely settings. There's also like family secrets and other stuff that you uncover throughout, and just family dynamic. I thought it was very interesting, a book. I liked it. I recommended it to my friend and my mom, so that's when you know. When you text someone to be like, hey, I think you'd like this book, that's when you know that you actually enjoyed the book. Sometimes anyway. Okay. So then the next book that I read was Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I know, I'm one of the last people to read it, but unpopular opinions. Okay, so reason why I was late to the party. I absolutely loved Daisy Jones and the Six, one of my favorite books. And I read that book right when it came out. I'm pretty sure. Right when it was on Reese's book club, I read it, fell in love with it. And then last winter, I read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Did not like it at all. It just was not for me. I know there are a lot of people out there who love it, and that's fine. We can all have different opinions, you know. It just wasn't for me. And so I was scared to read Malibu Rising because I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like it. Like, I loved Daisy Jones, did not like Seven Husbands, so how's this book going to be? So that's why it took me so long to read it, but I'm so glad that I finally did because I loved it. It definitely felt more in line with like the vibes of Daisy Jones. So I would say more if you really like Daisy Jones to try this because it's more of just the vibes. So this one is a book that follows the Riva siblings, which if you did read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, this was one of her husbands, the like hot second one. This guy. So basically, this book follows the 4 Riva siblings as they get ready to throw their annual like big summer bash that they have every year, and it is over the course of 24 hours as something like you find on the beginning that this big thing is going to happen, and then it starts off from the beginning of the day, and then you go all throughout the day until how you get to that huge event. And so you really get a lot of the different sibling dynamics, and then I also liked how it goes back and forth between present day and past, where you also get the story of their parents and how that came to be, and then what their life was like growing up. So then you more fully understand who they are as people in the current day. And it talks a lot about the pressures of being an oldest sibling, which I'm the oldest, so I really related to that aspect of it, and I really like the different family dynamics, and then talking about different industry stuff, music industry, and then there was surfing. So again, the vibes were great. The setting, I loved. A lot of surfing, a lot of beach. I mean, it's Malibu, so. But it was fun. I really enjoyed it. It was a super fast read for me. So if you're on the fence on if you think you should read it, I would read it. I thought it was really good. And then the last book that I read was Leanne Moriarty's The Last Anniversary. Now, this is my first Leanne Moriarty book. My mom had read, I think she had read a few of hers. She really likes Apple Never Falls. I think that's the title. So I picked up one just based off of that she liked the author. And I had never read anything by her before. So this book takes place. Sophie Honeywell always wondered if Thomas Gordon was the one who got away. He was the perfect boyfriend, but on the day he was going to propose, she broke his heart. A year later, he married his travel agent, while Sophie has been mortifyingly single ever since. Now, Thomas is back in her life because Sophie has unexpectedly inherited his Aunt Connie's house on Scribbly Gum Island, home of the famously unsolved Monroe baby mystery. Sophie moves to the island and begins a new life as part of this unconventional family where it seems everyone has a secret. Grace, a beautiful young mother, is feverishly planning a shocking escape from her perfect life. Margie, a frumpy housewife, has made a pact with a stranger, while dreamy Aunt Rose wonders if maybe it's about time she started making her own decisions. As Sophie's life becomes increasingly complicated, she discovers that sometimes you have to stop waiting around and come up with your own fairy tale ending. So this is kind of like family drama mystery. Especially once she moves to the island, you get all these really quirky characters, and then you see from everyone's point of view, which is cool, what they're dealing with and going through. And that the whole time at the center of the story is this mystery of the Monroe baby, and it's hinted at that like other people know, and then you have to kind of figure out, well, what actually happened. Another thing that I thought was interesting, so Liane Moriarty is Australian, and this book takes place in Australia, which I've never read a book where the setting was Australia before, so I thought that was very interesting, and hearing like the different Australian like slang words and dialect and stuff was cool. So it's not like an insane mystery, but it's fun. I think it's more fun. Like, yes, you want to find out what the mystery is, but I think it's just more fun seeing all the different characters' perspectives. And those are all of the books that I read in January and February of 2023. I would also love to know what you have read so far this year and what your favorite book has been. I would say out of the books that I have read so far, my favorite was Malibu Rising. Definitely recommend. If I was giving it stars, I'd give it like 4.5. So Daisy Jones is a 5. So if that helps you figure it out any, I don't know. But thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you stuck around till now. Just drop like a little yellow heart in the comments or something. And I will talk to you in my next video. Thank you. Bye, guys.